Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with your host Josh Saez. And I'm gonna jump right into this episode. I got a bunch of different topics. I'm kind of gonna kind of give you tidbits of different information, kind of just like a little bit of news here and there, what's going on in the boxing world. First things first, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua apparently is going to take place in Saudi Arabia in front of 20,000 fans. They keep doing this to us, giving us little chunks of information here and there. And while I do like the fact that the fight is slowly but surely being made. It is kind of getting annoying where, oh, we decided the location. Oh, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury's getting closer. We have a deal on the table. Until the fight is signed and a date is announced, I'm hopeful the fight's going to happen, but it's getting annoying that all of these little tidbits are being released little by little. I'm excited for the fight and I'm glad that the best are trying to fight the best. But until the hearing with Deontay Wilder or whatever legal issue there is, I get a little skittish whenever you hear that there's a legal issue going on. Deontay Wilder did have a rematch clause. And while I don't want to see Wilder versus Tyson Fury 3, a contract's a contract and you got to call a spade a spade. So until that issue is resolved and the fight's officially announced, I'm still going to be a little skeptical about what's going on. But regardless, you guys know my position. I think Tyson Fury is going to dominate Anthony Joshua. And I just think it's a nightmare matchup for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua cannot fight better on the inside than Tyson Fury, in my opinion, as you saw in that Takam fight versus Andy Ruiz, et cetera, et cetera. Tyson Fury can fight well on the inside, and you see that's a focus in his recent training videos. I like the fact that Tyson Fury kind of is a chameleon. He could box in the back foot. He can put pressure. He can seemingly do it all. He could fight lefty. He could fight righty. And I just think it's going to be a little too much for Anthony Joshua. It's a fun fight, and I do think it needs to happen because we need to see an undisputed, unequivocal champion in the heavyweight division. And I think when all is said and done, it's going to be Tyson Fury. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but just I'm going based off what I see, and I just don't think Anthony Joshua has what it takes to necessarily win this fight against Tyson Fury. I am aware that in the heavyweight division, one punch can change everything. So, got to be a little careful, but I just don't see Anthony Joshua beating Tyson Fury. But the fight, again, is inching forward, which is good. And if we don't talk about this stuff, what's the point of having the fight? This is what makes it fun. Now, secondly, Gervonta Davis. Finally, we hear something out of the Gervonta Davis camp. Things have been really, really radio silent from that camp, and I think it's because of the legal issues that are going on with Gervonta Davis. If you don't know, he was involved in a hit and run accident that was all over the news, and since then, it's been complete silence. And I hate sitting down and talking about things that are going to continue to perpetuate a negative look on um, a young, rich champion that comes from a rough beginning. But when you have millions of dollars, you get caught up. You really can't be told anything because you're successful. I don't know what to say about this issue, but I am happy to hear that Gervonta Davis is going to get back in the ring. And if he wins against Mario Barrios, it's a really, really good fight for him and his legacy. I personally think at 135, Gervonta Davis, I know I've been critical of him. He needs to not be mentioned amongst the five kings because truthfully, he's not fighting a 135. He hasn't fought a 135 pounder yet that is legitimate. And it's okay if he wants to move on. But enough of the talk about Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez and Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to win another championship in another division. And when you're a multi-divisional champion, you are a better, you can be marketed better and your brand becomes more valuable. So I certainly understand the move, but it's not the legitimate super title for the WBA. It's a WBA regular title. So you're basically the secondary champion. I don't know how I feel about that, but hey, look, I have no problem with Floyd saying, hey, I want to develop my fighter's career. I want to build his brand slowly but surely, fighting certain fights in order to build the Gervonta Davis brand. But you got to stop calling Gervonta Davis one of the kings of 135. He's a talented fighter, and I do think he is the goods. But at a certain point, you have to fight somebody at 135 if you want to be mentioned amongst the kings and the Teofimo Lopez's or the Devin Haney's, who is finally stepping up. Ryan Garcia stepping up against better competition as well. So I'm happy to hear from Gervonta though, and it's good to see that he's fighting Barrios. I think he's going to beat Barrios. I don't think Barrios can really show him anything he hasn't seen. And Gervonta, while short, packs a punch. Will he be able to catch Barrios and hurt Barrios? If he knocks out Barrios at 140, it's a statement nonetheless. I don't think he's the best at 135. I actually have him probably at fourth or actually, you know what? This is going to be tough for me to say. I have Gervonta Davis ranked last at 135. I think Tio's better. I think Loma's better right now. I think Haney's a nightmare matchup for Gervonta Davis. I even think Ryan Garcia, truthfully, is a nightmare matchup for Gervonta Davis. Could he win these fights? Yes, I do. I think he could beat Ryan Garcia. I think he could beat Lomachenko if he catches him. But if you look at the matchups, I think Gervonta Davis, in terms of career and who he's fought right now, I loved what he did at 130, and I loved the fact that he's moving up. But at 135, I'm just going to stop mentioning him in the conversation. Sure, he could come back and eventually be there. He's a young guy, but I'm just happy to hear that he's fighting again, because if you keep winning, you keep prolonging your career, you're only going to get better and better. Add more to your legacy, add more to the Gervonta Davis brand. I personally love it. I have no problem with that. I just want to stop hearing about Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia or these other guys, because he's just not in the conversation, and that's okay. I'm not sure what Mayweather's doing with his career in terms of why he's protecting him so much, and it almost makes him look as if he's not ready for the upper echelon yet. But Gamboa was a horrible fight. I didn't like what that fight did for him at all. He struggled at certain times. Yeah, he dominated, knocked him down, and eventually got him out of there. But it just personally put a bad taste in my mouth. And I felt the same about Devin Haney. But seeing him against somebody at 140, clearly they're trying to build that brand and they're trying to make him a bigger star slowly but surely. And just, I guess we got to be patient with Gervonta. I really like what he's done with himself in terms of life. He got himself out of that position. He's making a lot of money for himself, but I don't like hearing negative things pop up in the news and TMZ, hidden runs, all the legal stuff really, really gets tricky because it could potentially end it. I mean, if he has to do time, you losing time in the prime of your life in a career that has a very, very steep trajectory and a short lifespan, you don't know if you're ever going to get it back. There's been so many stories of fighters that were great, and one hiccup happens and their life is over completely. So I wish the best for Gervonta Davis, and I just hope he figures it out because the kid is talented. I give him that. He has power. You can't really teach what Gervonta Davis has. Power is God gifted, and sure, you can always make your technique better. You can learn how to punch better, but at the end of the day, the way he knocked out Leo Santa Cruz, I know Leo moved up, and I've been critical of him because again, he hasn't really fought at 135, and Leo came up, but still, that knockout was electric, and he has very, very electric power. So I'm really, really happy to see him back in action. And finally, Jermell Charlo is going to take on Brian Castano in a fight for undisputed. I know the Charlos get a lot of heat, and rightfully so. Sometimes they're loud, they talk a lot of trash, and it's not for everyone. I personally don't mind because at the end of the day, you have to sell yourself. And if you don't believe you're the best in the world, what are we doing here? If you're going to sit here and say that someone's better than you and you don't deserve whatever you got, like, what are you doing? Why are you fighting? You have to feel you're the best. And if you don't have that attitude, what's the point? But Jermell Charlo, ever since losing to Tony Harrison, I love what he's doing. I like that he's getting his titles back. I like the fact that he fought the guy he fought last time to be a 3 belt holder. I mean, that's awesome. Charlo, Jermell, you're doing your thing. You're beating the people in front of you, and you're looking to be undisputed. You're chasing greatness and you're chasing legacy. And look, when all is said and done, Derek James is doing a phenomenal job with Jermell Charlo. Sure, he has that one loss, but Charlo got it back. I thought Tony Harrison was doing great in the fight until he got a little too careless and a little too lax, and he got caught, and eventually the fight ended. But since then, fantastic job, Jermell Charlo. I love the fact that you're fighting Brian Castano. It should be a good fight, and I expect Jermell Charlo to be undisputed champion. And between Errol Spence and him, Derek James, you're doing a phenomenal job. I thought personally, if it wasn't going to be Canelo Alvarez's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, I thought Derek James did a fantastic job this year and should have been trainer of the year. If he does have Jermell Charlo as undisputed, and then also Errol gets in the ring and gets more belts, he could potentially upset and be the trainer of the year. Two undisputed champions. You can't deny the fact that that's a phenomenal feat. And what they're doing out there in Texas, Derek James, you're doing a phenomenal job. So that's the episode for today. I just wanted to touch on these topics. Let me know how you feel about them. My takes, again, are my takes. Feel free to leave an opinion, leave a comment, how you feel. Do you want to see Jermell Charlo be undisputed? Do you feel like he's, even though he's not fighting a top name that you may know, do you think it's a great accomplishment to be undisputed? Do you see how hard it is to unify? So I'm going to say yes. How do you feel about the Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight? Who do you think is going to win? And are you confident the fight's going to happen? All these announcements, the little chunks, are you annoyed? I don't know. But again, that's the episode for today. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Good Boxing Podcast. And also, if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. The channel's growing, and I'm really, really like doing this. Sorry for the lack of uploads the last few days. Had family stuff going on, and I just couldn't record, and the quality wouldn't be there. But I've been staying abreast with all the news, and I hope you like this video. Be well. Have a good day.